Hi, radiant souls of Leo. What if I told you that a single energetic shift this month could change everything? Not just your luck, not just your relationships, but the way you see yourself and what you believe you're truly capable of. Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness, your sacred space for cosmic insight, grounded empowerment, and spiritual transformation. And this is your deep, intuitive, soul-aligned reading for Leo, April 2025. But let's be clear from the start. You didn't find this video by accident. The universe has a way of whispering through synchronicity. And if you're watching right now, this is not just another horoscope. This is your invitation. An invitation to reclaim your fire, to reignite your inner sun, to remember that you were never meant to play small. Leo, your energy is bold, sovereign, heart-centered. But even the brightest stars need moments of reflection. Moments to remember that power doesn't come from the applause of others, it comes from alignment. This month, something is shifting. You've probably already felt it, a subtle pull, a dream that lingered too long, or a sign that wouldn't let go. Don't brush it off. This is your season of realignment. This is where destiny taps on your shoulder and says, "Are you ready to lead again, not out of ego, but out of truth?" Let me take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for you being here. Every like, every comment, every time you hit that subscribe button, it brings you closer to our soul family at Eternal Mindfulness. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart. Your support breathes life into this channel and allows me to bring these transformative messages to you week after week. And trust me, dear Leo, you'll want to stay with me until the very end of this reading. Because what the stars are revealing for you this month is nothing short of extraordinary. But first, tell me, what called you here today? What did your soul whisper that brought you to this space, at this exact moment? Share it in the comments, because you never know who needs to hear your light. Now, take a breath. Feel your feet on the earth. Let your inner fire rise to meet the wisdom of the stars. Because what's coming next might just be the sign you've been waiting for. Sometimes, it's not a loud breakthrough that shifts our path, it's a soft alignment. A gentle click, as though something within you and around you suddenly starts flowing in the same direction. And if the opening moments of this reading stirred something inside, then what you're feeling now is the subtle yet powerful movement of cosmic harmony beginning to ripple through your life. This is where it deepens. The first light of April doesn't just rise outside of you, it rises within. This month carries a unique brilliance for Leo, and it begins with the sun, the very source of your vitality, reaching exaltation in Aries. When the sun is exalted, it doesn't just shine, it radiates with intention. It becomes sharper, more focused, more urgent in its calling. And because Leo is ruled by the sun, this alignment doesn't just light up the sky, it reignites your sense of purpose. You may feel the desire to act on something long held inside, a vision or truth you've been delaying, tucked away behind doubt or comfort. That's not coincidence. It's clarity emerging. It's the fire saying, "I am ready." In astrology, Aries and Leo are both fire signs, natural initiators, bold movers. But this month's sun is not pushing you toward impulsiveness, it's inviting you to return to a deeper kind of strength. Not the kind that shouts or dominates, but the kind that knows. The kind that stands quietly, without need for applause, and simply is. In ancient teachings, this is the strength of stillness, the courage of presence. A lion does not prove its power, it only remembers it. While the sun calls you into the arena of self-expression, Jupiter lends its weight from the 9th house, a house of expansion, of wisdom, of the higher road. This isn't just about travel or learning for the sake of information. It's about seeking truth that transforms. Many Leos this month may feel an urge to step into teaching roles, mentorship, or spiritual leadership, not out of ego, but because you've lived through enough to give back from a place of earned experience. There's beauty in that kind of growth, in allowing your voice to be a bridge for others, especially when it rises from an authentic center. And yet, transformation doesn't come without shedding. Saturn's presence in your 8th house reminds us that all creation begins with release. The 8th house governs cycles of death and rebirth, not always literally, but symbolically. It rules over secrets, subconscious fears, karmic threads we've carried too long. With Saturn here, some of you may feel the weight of old stories surfacing again, but not to haunt you, to be completed. There's a quiet wisdom in learning not to run from discomfort, but to sit with it, to meet it with breath. You don't need to fix everything all at once. You only need to stay with what arises, moment by moment. This is why personal rituals can be powerful now, not as a performance, but as a return. Taking 5 minutes each morning to sit with the sun, either literally or through visualization, is more than enough. Write down what your inner fire wants. Not what the world demands from you, but what your essence craves to express. Some call this manifesting, but at its root, it is simply listening. Listening to the life within you that longs to emerge. It's not about forcing your way forward, it's about clearing the path and letting yourself walk it, bare and brave. If you're holding on to something that's kept your light dimmed, an outdated role, a fear of judgment, a voice from the past, this is the time to give it to the fire. Let it burn gently. Let it return to ash and make space for what's next. You don't need to rush. But you do need to trust that your timing is sacred, and the world is ready for the version of you that no longer hides from the flame. This month, you are not being asked to become anything. You are simply being invited to remember what you already are. The light was never gone. It was just waiting for your permission to rise. It often begins subtly, a quiet longing, a soft ache that doesn't always have words. Perhaps it comes in the form of restlessness, or maybe it's just a deep breath that feels heavier than usual. This is the beginning of awakening, Leo, not a loud call, but a return to something deeply familiar within yourself. When we spoke earlier about being drawn here not by chance but by a sacred pull, this is where that thread continues. You are not just meant to shine for the world, you are meant to remember who you are for yourself. This part of the journey isn't about prediction, or what's coming next in your life. It's about restoration. Reconnection. The month of April, with its bold Aries energy lighting up your own inner fire, is less about chasing newness and more about reclaiming what's been lost in the noise, your truth, your worth, your presence. You've walked through challenges, some loud, some silent, and perhaps somewhere along the way, a part of you began to doubt your brilliance. But it was never gone. It only went quiet, waiting for you to sit still long enough to hear it again. There is something powerful that happens when we stop performing and start listening. When we look into the mirror not to criticize, but to witness. One of the most potent practices you can begin right now is the simple act of mirror work, standing before your reflection and offering yourself the kind of love and presence you so often extend to others. Whisper gently, "I see you. I forgive you. I love you." It may feel awkward at first, even uncomfortable. But over time, that voice softens the inner armor. It becomes medicine. And that's what April is for you, a month of internal medicine. You are not broken. You are simply healing in ways the outer world can't always see. That's why we invite the practice of journaling, not just to record your thoughts, but to uncover them. Try starting a Lionheart journal, a space where your courage, vulnerability, and joy can all belong in one place. Write as if your future self is listening. Because they are. These reflective practices aren't about isolation, they're about integration. In one of the old teachings, there's a metaphor that speaks to this. Imagine your heart as a clear lake. Over time, winds of worry and waves of external expectation can muddy the water. But when you become still, through breath, through silence, through returning to your inner voice, the water settles. Clarity returns. You don't have to force the answers. They rise on their own when the surface is calm. Many of us carry wounds that weren't created by us, but were inherited, passed down through family patterns, social roles, unspoken beliefs. This is where inner child meditation can offer profound shifts. Not as a mystical experience, but as a compassionate one. Close your eyes, bring to mind the version of you that once believed without hesitation, that laughed without shame, that cried without guilt. That version still lives inside you. Speak to them. Hold them. Remind them they are safe now, because you are here. This isn't about erasing pain, it's about including it in your power. The lion within you does not deny the scars, it wears them as evidence of survival, of depth, of having loved and lost and still dared to rise again. The essence of true strength is not force, it's tenderness anchored in truth. That's your task this month, to soften where you've hardened, to trust where you've hesitated, and to move forward not with the urgency to prove, but with the intention to embody. You don't need to be fixed, Leo. You only need to come home to yourself, again and again, like breath returning to the body. And in doing so, you remind others that their light, too, is still within reach. Not because you said it, but because you lived it. So as you move forward, let April be your turning point, not because it changes who you are, but because it reveals who you've always been. Sometimes the path forward doesn't look like a breakthrough. It looks like a quiet decision, the kind you make at sunrise when no one's watching, but you know in your heart that you're choosing something bigger. That's the kind of energy this moment is inviting you into. As we shift into this next phase of your reading, let's take a deeper look at how your work, your purpose, and your relationship with money are aligning right now. Because Leo, you were never meant to play small in any of these areas. With the sun, your ruling force, now exalted, you're being asked to illuminate not just your potential, but your responsibility to it. The kind of leadership that's rising through you now isn't about domination or control. It's about embodiment. It's about showing up fully for the life you say you want, in the work you choose to do, and in the way you impact others through your presence. And with Venus gently blessing your 10th house of career and long-term ambition, this is a rare alignment where grace and action can finally meet. You may have felt, in recent months, a sense of preparation, like something was building beneath the surface. Whether you're launching something new, dreaming of a pivot, or simply wanting to be recognized for your gifts, now is the time to begin again, not from scratch, but from experience. And experience, Leo, is something you hold in abundance. Not just through success, but through challenge. Through staying. Through choosing again after disappointment. That depth is what gives your work its richness now. Think of your career not as a ladder, but as a field you're tending. Every conversation, every offer, every failure even, is a seed. Some grow fast, some take years. But with consistency and presence, the landscape begins to change. The energy of this month supports new ventures, creative visibility, and especially collaborative momentum, if you allow others in. This is where your fire becomes truly impactful, when you stop trying to do it all alone, and instead begin to build with. There is a teaching that speaks of the discipline of right action, doing what must be done not for applause, but because it's aligned. That teaching is especially relevant now. You may be called to step up, to be more vocal, to stand in front of others and represent not just your own vision, but a larger mission. That is not a burden. It is a gift, a calling. And when leadership is rooted in sincerity rather than ego, it transforms both the leader and those who follow. This month also invites you to revisit your relationship with money. Not just what you earn, but how you hold it, how you spend it, and what story you're telling yourself about your own value. When the mind believes that worth is something to chase, we stay in survival mode. But when you realize that worth is something to honor, already present, already whole, money begins to respond differently. It becomes a channel, not a chain. Numerologically, this period aligns with the energy of 1 and 10, numbers of beginnings, of origin, of return to self. The number 1 is the spark of will, the moment you say yes to becoming the leader of your own life. The number 10 reminds us that every cycle closes only to begin again. It's a full circle, and you, Leo, are standing right at the threshold between what was and what will be. If you've ever questioned whether your gifts matter, whether your voice carries impact, or whether you're too late to step into what you truly want, this is the month to lay those doubts down. You are not behind. You are not unworthy. You are in process. And from that honest place, your real power begins to speak. Leadership isn't always a title. Sometimes, it's how you hold yourself when no one's validating you. Sometimes it's the quiet, unwavering commitment to show up, to do the work, not because someone told you to, but because your soul signed up for it long ago. So go ahead. Start the thing. Say the words. Make the offer. Choose the bold path. Let your work become your mirror, not of who you used to be, but of who you are now, and who you are still becoming. What we long for in love often reveals more about our relationship with ourselves than it does about another person. After all the work you've been doing, to remember who you are, to rise into your purpose, to realign with your inner worth, it's only natural that your approach to love is shifting too. Relationships, at their core, are mirrors. They reflect not just what we want, but who we believe we are. And this month, Leo, the energy is calling you to love more bravely, but also more consciously. For those of you in a relationship, this is a time of recalibration. You're learning how to love without losing yourself. The desire to merge, to fully share your fire with another, can be powerful, but it must be tempered with self-awareness. The most sacred love is not one where we complete each other, but where we meet each other as whole beings, choosing to grow side by side. The real test of intimacy is not how much you give, but how gently you hold your own boundaries while still showing up with an open heart. This is the dance of real love, presence without possession, passion without projection. And for those who are walking solo right now, this is not a waiting room. It's a sacred space of becoming. The universe doesn't hold you back from love as punishment. Sometimes it simply clears the space so that you can become the kind of partner you wish to attract. And interestingly, you might find that love begins to show up in unexpected places, perhaps through work, a shared creative project, or even in the quiet of an online conversation that feels just a little too aligned to be random. A beautiful practice this month is to write a letter, not from longing, but from trust. A letter to the one who's coming. Speak to them as if they're already on their way. Tell them how you're preparing to meet them, not with conditions, but with clarity. This isn't about chasing a fantasy, it's about aligning with the version of you that's ready for the kind of love that doesn't need fixing or proving. You'd be amazed at what shifts when you focus less on when someone will arrive and more on how you will receive them when they do. There's also value in staying curious about your own heart's rhythm. Consider drawing a tarot card once a week, not to predict who or when, but to explore how you're showing up in love. What energies are you inviting? Are you leading with openness, or with fear disguised as control? Are you listening with compassion, or trying to be heard without truly hearing? The cards won't tell you what to do, they'll simply hold up a gentle mirror, helping you understand the subtle tides within. One of the most liberating lessons of this season is understanding that love cannot be manufactured, manipulated, or earned through self-sacrifice. It must be lived, honestly, presently, generously, and it must begin within. Think of it like tending a fire. If you keep giving all your warmth to the outside without tending to your inner flame, eventually you grow cold. But if you keep that fire within you nourished, through rest, through truth, through joyful solitude, then love becomes a sharing of heat, not a plea to be warmed. There's a quiet wisdom that teaches, the more we release the need to be chosen, the more we choose ourselves. And from that place, something extraordinary happens. The desperation dissolves. The fear softens. And we begin to attract love not from a place of lack, but from abundance, the abundance of knowing our value, our limits, and our light. Leo, you are not meant to chase affection. You are meant to radiate it. And when you stop gripping love with your ego and start holding it with your heart, the people who are meant to walk with you will feel it, not just in your words, but in your presence. Love, real love, does not demand performance. It invites truth. And the more you stand in yours, the more you allow love to meet you where you are, not as a rescue, but as a reflection of everything you've remembered yourself to be. When we arrive at the final stretch of a journey like this, it's not about ending, it's about integrating. Everything you've uncovered about your inner self, your direction, your relationships, your strength, it now gathers into one sacred thread, and that thread is your energy. Energy, as you know, speaks long before words do. It enters a room, paints an impression, opens or closes doors. And this is where color, symbol, and intention come into play, not as superstition, but as quiet tools that help you stay rooted in your awareness. What we surround ourselves with reflects what we're choosing to believe about life, and about ourselves. This month, Leo, the colors that call to you are not random. Gold, ruby red, and coral orange, they each echo something essential in your nature. Gold, of course, connects to light, not just brightness, but clarity, leadership, sovereignty. It reminds you that your presence can illuminate without overpowering, and that your essence was never meant to dim to make others more comfortable. Ruby red channels passion, not the chaotic kind, but the depth of devotion, the fire of commitment, the strength of emotional integrity. And coral, a shade of warmth nestled between red and orange, brings life into motion. It speaks to joy, play, connection, the soft power of being approachable and authentic at the same time. Wearing these colors, even subtly, as an accessory, a background on your phone, or a small item in your workspace, can act as gentle reminders. You're not invoking anything outside of you. You're reminding the deeper parts of your mind what you're here to embody: light, courage, vitality. The visual language we choose matters. Think of it like adjusting the lens through which you see yourself. A golden bracelet can become a silent affirmation. A coral notebook might become your safe space for dreams. These are choices that bring you back to the present with purpose. And just like color, symbols speak directly to the unconscious. The golden lion, for example, is not just an animal. It's an archetype. It lives in the stories we tell ourselves about bravery, dignity, and strength without aggression. When you look at a lion, calm, composed, aware, it reflects the energy you're cultivating. Courage isn't noise. It's presence. That kind of presence doesn't shout. It simply is, and it changes everything by existing fully. The seven-rayed sun, too, is more than a design. It's a symbol of awakening through balance. Each ray can represent an element of your journey: clarity, discipline, compassion, purpose, creativity, reflection, and trust. These aren't abstract concepts, they are human skills. Practiced, chosen, embodied. The sun, your planetary ruler, doesn't ask for permission to rise. It just rises, again and again, regardless of how the sky received it the day before. That's your lesson here: return. Keep showing up. Even the crystal citron, often associated with abundance and creativity, is less about attracting something external and more about staying in alignment with what is already within you. Citron holds the energy of the solar plexus, the part of us that governs confidence, personal power, and clarity of action. When your decisions are rooted in trust, your energy becomes magnetic. Not because you force outcomes, but because you no longer block what's already flowing toward you. And if you feel called to mark this moment, one practice you might try is writing your desires down, not from grasping, but from quiet clarity. Let it be simple. Let it be real. What do you want to welcome? What are you finally ready to release? Write it. Light it. Watch it burn under the full moon as a gesture of willingness. Not to control the outcome, but to align your heart with it. All of these tools, color, symbol, practice. They're not about mysticism. They're about mindfulness. They're about moving through life not just reacting, but responding. Not just hoping, but creating space for what matters. And if there's one final reminder I'd offer you, dear Leo, it's this: you were never meant to ask for permission to shine. You were born radiant. The real question is, are you ready to let yourself feel it? Because the moment you do, the world begins to feel it too. The journey we've taken together today isn't meant to be bookmarked and forgotten. It's meant to live on, in your choices, your awareness, your energy. Everything you've heard in this space isn't just guidance. It's an invitation. An invitation to return to yourself, not the version shaped by expectation, fear, or comparison, but the version that existed before doubt ever learned your name. The version of you that still remembers how to lead with heart, to choose without hesitation, to rise simply because it is time. You see, Leo, the most powerful transformations never begin with loud declarations or massive actions. They begin in quiet moments, the ones where you choose differently. Where you pause and ask, what would it look like to truly honor who I am today? What if this very day became the shift, the one where you started speaking to yourself with more kindness, showing up with more clarity, and choosing action from alignment rather than urgency? This month, the stars don't demand perfection from you. They ask only for presence. Not the kind of presence that performs, but the kind that feels. That listens. That notices what's really going on beneath the surface. And with that awareness comes choice. You get to decide what energy you carry forward. You get to decide which parts of your story you amplify, and which you release. That's not just empowerment, it's responsibility. And it's beautiful. So let me ask you, honestly, what are you ready to release right now? Not because it's broken, but because it's no longer aligned with who you're becoming. And what would happen if you gave yourself permission to want more, not from a place of lack, but from a place of knowing that you are already enough? If there's one truth I want you to carry with you after watching this video, it's this: you are not someone seeking the light, you are the light. Even in the moments you feel lost. Even in the spaces where you feel unseen. You shine not because someone allows it, but because your very existence is proof that light is real. You do not need to wait for approval to embody who you are. The world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more truth. Your truth. And when that light shines through action, through reflection, through courage, through your voice, your art, your presence, it becomes unstoppable. So don't wait. Don't apologize for dreaming big or stepping out of the shadows. The fire in your soul wasn't placed there by accident. It was meant to guide you, and maybe, just maybe, to guide others too. If anything in today's reading resonated with you, I want to hear it. What part of your own journey are you ready to embrace more fully? What insight spoke directly to your heart? Comment below and let me know, and if you feel called, type, "I am the light of my own life," to affirm your connection with this moment, this message, and this path. And if you found value in this video, if it sparked something in you, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need this message too. Your support not only helps this content reach more people, it becomes part of the ripple. And every ripple matters. Thank you for being here with me, for choosing to listen with your heart, and for continuing to show up for yourself, no matter what. Remember, you don't need to chase what's already within you. Just stay present. Stay open. And trust that you're exactly where you need to be to begin again. Until next time, take gentle care of your energy, and never forget the power of the light you carry.